I mean, I think it's the history and symbolism of this country's independence, fight for independence, and the I'd say for what it's represented for the entirety of the African continent, the promise of a new nation. I think that a lot of us look back at that with a lot of nostalgia, and I think that our story is so unique that it could only be that we, the people of Ghana, could only have constructed that history for ourselves. So that history is a sense of pride for a lot of us.
Ghanaian dream.
If we understand the Ghanaian dream as something that is shared collectively, that defines our spirit, that every person who grows up is inculcated in, then I think is the desire to have a person in some higher place when disaster strikes, some connection, whether it's in the hospital, somebody you can call who can procure you blood when you need blood transfusion. Somebody who is that we are always looking for somebody who can be able to help you beat the kind of system we have created. That's what I suppose is defining of what the structure is. But if we want to be aspirational in terms of, and perhaps and look at our experience through rose-tinted glasses, we can as well say, is that refusal to stay back down when you're beat several times, continuing to rise again. Some of the things that we have seen as a nation, the fact that a lot of people continue to have hope that this country can arise above its current station. Perhaps even in the face of uncertainty, we are continuing to hope for the best. There's something in there that we can look to. A lot of times when you talk to Ghanaians, every time they'll tell you that we are managing. I suppose in that management is a sense that we are refusing to give up, I think.
Eva, you've been leading a movement to fix the country. It's hashtag fix the country. We're wondering what exactly is wrong with Ghana that we are hoping to fix?
I mean, I think that one of the things we can all agree to is that there's a general despondency, generally among the population and also young people who have lost the sense of belief in this country's potential, like I was saying, to rise above its current station. And a lot of what our advocacy is about is to create a sense of belief that if we do put ourselves to it, that we galvanize a sense of, wanting to be part of the solution, that perhaps we can move the country even forward. So a lot of the times we've talked about that our advocacy and our messaging is more directed towards the Ghanaian rather than those who are in positions of power. Because first we must regain the faith that this country can change. And without that sense of belief, without believing that, anything we do matters, nobody is invested in the process of how we rethink and build the republic. That for me is the essence of our advocacy in general, that a lot more young people have to believe that this country can in fact be able to achieve justice for them, that they might be able to see their dreams actualized in this republic. That process we have lost, and that's what a lot of this is about, I think.
What would you say led us to that sense of belief that you think is in the youth generally that you were hoping that we could fix?
Well, a lot of the times I talk about the Fourth Republic and the 30 years we have seen, not because past years have not brought us closer, but I think that in 1992 there was a sense of renewal that we were not going to do politics of old, that things were going to change, that we're going to see the Vision 2020 Ghana realized. There were so many promises that were made that whether they were not believed by the elite class that made those promises, or in fact there was no commitment to actualizing and realizing them. And as a result of it, so many people have seen dreams broken. So many people have lost, people within the dysfunctional healthcare system. So many people have lost job opportunities to be able to grow for themselves. A lot of us are walking into retirement where our pensions are not secure. So we are seeing a whole generation lost. And in fact, the fact that all of this is happening in our lifetime, we are not seeing punishments being given to anybody. We are not seeing any sense of real accountability for some of the things that are happening in the country. Obviously, people give up. So in so many types of situations where even injustice has occurred, myself, as somebody who has been involved in the process of trying to get justice for people and all things, even in those situations, people want to be able to, they want to have a touch and go relationship. If I was slapped and they took my phone, I just want the phone back and I don't want to deal with it because I don't truly believe that justice can occur. So just the little I can get out of this system that is not invested towards restoring the faith of its citizens, gradually we feel the effect. One of the things I say is that if you look at public sector generally, there's a general feeling that those at the top get away with so much corruption and graft that to get any service done, people feel justified to ask you for money because they feel like, well, those at the top have sorted themselves out. I might as well do the same. But if there's a sense that there's a real accountability, there's real transparency, that people actually pay for the wrongs they do, that feeling will transcend across how we deal in the public space or treat the public thing. So that has accumulated and gotten us to this point, I think. Well, one of the things, I suppose one of the things that we can still take pride in is that it's still a young republic, comparatively to so many different societies. And that as long as a lot of people, we can still create a critical mass of people who believe or come to, whether it's blind faith or other, that this republic, Ghana, this our motherland, can still be able to, and I can't say it's take on its best cloth, fan into my prafra. That belief and sense that things can change is only what can drive this republic forward. But if we lose that, then we lose everything, I think.
Take that from you, Golda. But the issue about rule of law comes up, and the lawyer amongst us, I'm sure, I'll throw that to him. Barker-Vormawor. So it looks like for Golda, even though there's rule of law, it's almost non-existent, and it just works for a few. And one of the issues for her is what is hampering our quest to getting the desired Ghana. The issue about leadership has come up, values and identity also. For you, what's standing in that way?
I think it's the people, to be honest. And when I say the people, I don't say it in a way that creates fault with the people as persons who are not good enough. But I think generally there's a lack of belief and faith that anything good can come out of the country. And when people have that faith, that sense, they stop trying. And because I do think that there's so many things that happen in this republic that everybody just feels tired, people don't want to do anything about it, and people just resign themselves to a particular faith. But in fact, systems can change if we have faith that they can change, because then that leads us to move more. A lot of the space that we've left for leadership and the things that I've gotten away with is because we have allowed it for so long to happen. That we've allowed that disrespect to go on. We have allowed, the kind of substandard leadership that continues to occur. So I always give an example. In our protest, we're calling for the president to resign. And so many people will say, but is that even feasible for an African country? It's almost as if our imagination blocks at a certain point, that our refusal to believe in our own capacity and our voices singing enough to demand for those who we are by our own industry elected to be accountable for us, and that we can withdraw that mandate when we feel so. So I do think that process of rebuilding the faith that in fact you matter, your voice matter, and everything you have to do can create change has to be discovered for this country to be able to move forward. If not, it has always been the nature of power for people to take advantage of those who are meek and those who are voiceless. That is the way in which power has traditionally operated, and if given the space, it will continue to do so. And we always say that power concedes nothing without demand. We have to make that demand. We have to knock on those doors. That is the way we, the people, come in. So far, we are not doing enough. And we always have to remember that even as we are trying to do more, it's power's place to continue to push back at us, to create scapegoats of people who speak up, to try to make the cost of you standing up really expensive. But you have to remember that at the long run, at the end of the day, you win. And that generations after you do not have to suffer the same fate that you have suffered.
Yeah.
Some of the things that we are talking about, some of the struggles we are doing now, we won't do them if our parents and fathers before us, mothers, had done these struggles, had pushed back against the system. And we have to have a sense of responsibility towards tomorrow's generation. That we may not see these changes in our lifetime, but my God, tomorrow deserves better than we see today.
Because I was coming to that. This issue about we not having the faith and resigning from having that kind of faith that things would change for the better. Can you really blame the people if you say that they've stopped having that kind of faith? Because over the period, nothing really has come out from having that faith. What then do you expect them to do?
That is true. I mean, I think that power operates in a way that makes you feel voiceless. It's intended to do so that you begin to internalize it. And that when you begin to internalize that sense that your leaders cannot give you anything, they feel much more secure in where they are. So you say that the rent is expensive in Ghana. They say if you don't like Ghana, go to Canada. Things, that sense of disrespect, that it doesn't stop, and you have to be able to get to a point where you say that, you know what, we may have lost the faith now, and I don't believe that, I don't even know if this will work, but I'll stay there and fight nonetheless. We have to get to that point where we stop the slide. That is where our sense and our focus is working towards. Because without that, it doesn't ever stop. I always give the example that if you take Haiti gained its independence as far back in the 18th century, in the 1700s. If you take Liberia as one of the oldest African republics, they are worse off than we are today. Time alone does not solve the problems that the country has. So if we think that just by being, things will change, it's not going to happen. They can, in fact, get worse. And history has shown that they do get worse unless the people themselves resolve and stand up to demand different. So that's the unfortunate situation which we are put in. But it's a situation which power wants it to be in. This desperation, this sense that nothing works, because then they can profit better off our backs.
But Oliver, you've talked about the people a lot and the fact that they may not have the faith. But in the face of corruption and all the issues about illegal mining, all the things that bring us down as a country, do you think that the people are angry enough as well when it comes to the kinds of things that happens in this country? At least you've interacted a lot with people.
I think that the Ghanaians are very angry about the situation in which we are, but I think the Ghanaians are not organized enough. So we're angry enough, but under-organized. The biggest forms of organizations we see in our political sphere and civic society are political parties. And so a lot of the times, they then recycle people into this system that they have created that generate and sustain themselves. But outside of that space, for communities to be able to come together, for individual groups, interest groups across to be able to mobilize and do things, we don't see that level of organization that can become an appropriate counterweight to the politics of decay that we are witnessing on a day-to-day. So that's where the bigger issue is, the process of building systems of organizations, groups that can come together and be able to fight off across different societies is what we are missing. If you go to France, you see that the farmers' unions are very, very well organized. They can take over the airports, they can pour all their produce onto the streets. We don't see that level of organization here. And that's one of the biggest challenges, to be able to build effective counterweight system to the kind of politics and the system that the politicians have created, in fact.
Okay. In wrapping up, I'm going to go down and then bash on this, but in some 3 days, we are 67. Are we truly independent? Our theme is our independence, our pride. Is there anything to be proud of when it comes to our independence? Are we truly independent?
Well, behind you, we have the Independence Act, and it says freedom and justice. I think that those ought to be the measurement of our society. How have we built a just society? Are people free from economic anxiety? Are they free from poverty? Have we been able to liberate people from the ills of the society that we have created? I don't think that we've been able to measure up to our own ideals and what the founding fathers and the founding generation put ahead of themselves as the ultimate goal for our society. The challenge is not that we are not there. The challenge is, in fact, that it doesn't seem that we have constructed a path that will take us there. And that's even the most depressing part of it. So even though we yearn for these things, and every society must always seek to move and continue to go beyond, we don't seem to have a clear direction. And the persons that we continue to put in place do not even care about the project of really leading us towards a just society and ensuring that people are in fact free in their pursuits.
Okay.